In this screencast, I will help you how to decide which type of test you should use based on your research question. This table shows the most appropriate test based on the number of dependent variables and independent variables your research question has. The type of data you will collect for your dependent and independent variables also depicts what type of test is suitable. Just to let you know that this table is being adapted from one I found on the internet, and your supervisors may have differing views on the most appropriate type of test to use, as there can be some debate as to which test is the most appropriate. Therefore, it is important to make sure your supervisor agrees on the type of test you decide to use before you begin your analysis. I will now give you some examples of research questions and explain what the most appropriate tests are and why. If you are interested in the difference between males and females on goals scored, for example, the most appropriate test would be an independent sample t-test. This is because you have one dependent variable, your goals scored, and one independent variable, gender, with two levels, male or female. If you wanted to know if educational level was different between basketball, football and rugby players, you would conduct a one-way ANOVA. This is because you have one dependent variable, your educational level, and one independent variable with more than two levels, the type of sport. If you are interested in relationships and wanted to know if there was a relationship between time spent on a treadmill and the number of calories burned, you would conduct a correlation. However, if you wanted to predict something, for example, what type of factors may account for slow recovery from spinal injuries in sport, then you would need to conduct a multiple regression. A multiple regression identifies the best set of predictor variables. Predictor variables are also known as independent variables. In this case, a multiple regression is most appropriate as you have one dependent variable, the recovery time, and several independent variables, the factors you want to look at. If you are interested in whether the number of goals scored in a Premier League varied according to player experience when controlling for their skill level, you would conduct an ANCOVA. This is the same as an ANOVA, but adds control of one or more covariate variables, which is skill level, that you think may influence a dependent variable, your goals scored. However, if you are interested in whether there is a difference between four groups of sprinters in reaction time and movement time, then you would conduct a MANOVA. This is because you have two dependent variables as opposed to one, which is reaction time and movement time, and an independent variable of more than two levels, your four groups of sprinters. It can be a lot to take in when looking at the table and trying to decide what type of test you need to use to answer your research question, but do not worry as your supervisor will be able to help you with this. At the bottom of the table is a key which explains what the terms mean in the table. I will make this table available for you on Blackboard so you can spend some time looking at it with your supervisor.